Alrighty, so for our first learn together, I'd like to do something that expands upon some of the concepts that you were introduced to in the first lecture. And I'm just going to move over to that, just a reference of the discussion here. So in this first two sections that you did, and really most specifically in the second section, in 4, 5, and 6, these three really gave some great concepts. First about VS Code here, and he just introduces, having VS Code and installing it. But what we're going to do, and this is the same that's true for these other two, is I want you to take something that either you didn't know before, or something you kind of knew but you wanted to expand your knowledge about from any of these three lectures. And it could be a skill, it could be a topic. Most of these will be topics or concepts because that's most of what's covered here. The first code you did was very simple. So I want you to find something, right? And that's really, if I come back over here, I want you to look through that content and then either find videos or articles that help you understand this concept, and then share your link below. And I'll show you how to share it, how to do that. But the important thing is first, look at what's already been posted from students so you make sure you don't duplicate stuff. And luckily, this is not a huge class. It should be pretty easy to just kind of glance at those posts and see what those things are. And like I said, there's just great stuff. So I just, as an example, want to go out and do, because he really did a good job of talking about and conceptualizing the not blocking versus non-blocking. And this code example was excellent. So, but you might want to know a little more about that. So again, you might go to YouTube, start searching some of these terms. You might just go to a regular Google search and start searching for those terms about Node, JS, blocking, non-blocking, and find a video. It seems like my YouTube's having a little bit of a challenge, but let me just give you a few guidelines here. One is don't choose videos that are too old, right? So like 1 year is probably fine. 3 months is good. Even 2 years, if it's talking about something, and this is another really important topic that we'll cover later, which is the event loop. And this is actually a very classic video, but you may not know that. But in general, what I say is try to find well-produced, more current content, especially in Node.js, because there's so much change and that is always happening in the community, new skills, new concepts. But some of these broader concepts, you can maybe go back a little farther to find one. But let's say, and this is Mosh. Mosh is great. Let's say I wanted to choose this particular one. So what I'd do is I'd go in here and I'd watch it, right? So I'd actually watch the video in its entirety. And then, now this one's not very long, so remember you are going to have to write about this concept. So choose one that expands your knowledge. But let's just show you this one, for example. So what I'd do here is if this was the one I'd want to select, I'd come into embed, and then I would just copy this code, okay? So I'm going to get out of here. So the two things you're going to need to do in your reply then is you're going to need to first, and I'll just click into here, right? Give a heading. So in your heading, so like my heading here was about Node.js. So you want to give a heading that's specific to your topic. So non-blocking might be mine. And then what you want to do here is select that and then make it a heading 4. Actually, no, let's make it a heading 2. I think that's what I did in my other class, or maybe 3. And then what you'll do is write about, so you'll write your 150 words, because what you're going to do is, again, the idea is you're expanding your knowledge, right? And then what you will do, and this is really important to understand, is that you're looking at what's called the Wysiwyg View here. And if I click over to the HTML editor, I actually get the HTML view. So what I could do is I could either paste my code that I got from YouTube here, or I could get rid of that last paragraph tag, right? So I could do it that way. If this is an article, let me just show you that. You could, what we're doing here is using the Wysiwyg editor, but you could easily just write this code in HTML if you have that skill, which is hope that you came in with some HTML. So, but if you're not sure, you can actually just go, in here, and I wouldn't paste that link. Let me just actually show you that. So if I was on YouTube or on Google and I just typed non-blocking Node.js, right? What I would do is look through these articles and I would find one, right? Let's see. Free Code Camp is great. And so I'd probably read this article and I would see if this expanded a piece of knowledge that I wanted. If it was, I would take this. And so in this case, I could just copy that in, right? So you can do one or the other. Oh, now notice what happened there. That's kind of interesting. And I'm going to do an undo real quick. So what I would do there is, instead of, because I'm just giving you the examples of video or articles, right? So let's just, for this purpose, get rid of that. And then I would, in this case, right, just give a link. There we go. Cool. And actually what you could do here, and then this is where if you open your HTML code, you can see that the link context is this link. So what you could do is maybe the title of the article, right? And again, if you know how to write the HTML, write it directly. You just have to know the class and things like that. But use the Wysiwyg if you don't create a challenge there that you don't need at this point. All right, so that's the first part, right? So this is the first part about Node.js. And on the second part, this is where I want to then give you an opportunity to learn or at least show the setup that you have and get a little more experience with Git. And I know that is a little redundant, but let me show you what you need to do here. And actually, I'm going to do this. I actually have my client-side directory, client-side 93 class open. So I'm going to open this class for this particular semester. Now, notice I opened the base directory. You actually could, if you wanted to, open up the repos individually. That's fine. You can do it that way. I actually like to open just that base folder. But in order for me to do that, I need to know how, once I'm running code, and this is not covered in Andrew's course, so this is part of why I'm giving you the FYI, is that you need to then know how to navigate from, once you get terminal, because if I do an ls here, right, I would then want to change into, because for this experience, you're going to run code that's setting in your private repo, but you're going to post a print screen, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, into the public one. So what you can do here is change directory, and if I hit R and hit tab, it'll do that query search against the directory. If I hit R again, in this case, it hits my private directory, right? And then I could just come in here, do an ls. Now, if I knew the next directory, and I could also do that, but I'm going to do it clear. So I know, and I can look at it from my directory, but the important thing is to understand, if you open the base directory, you have to navigate into, and even if you just open this repo, you have to navigate into that subdirectory. Okay, so in this case, you should all have a directory called Node course now. Now, of course, I'm going to have more here, right? So, and I don't remember what he named that first one, but I'm going to actually do Node, and then I'm going to do hello.js. Cool. And that ran that right there, which is awesome. So, and then I'm going to take a print screen. So this is where, your operating system comes into play. Whatever you're using in your operating system, or whatever operating system you're using, this command will change. I'm using Linux on my Chromebook. But that's why in the output, I've given you a link to doing print screens on Windows 10 or doing it on the Mac, because that's the most common flavors of OSs. Right? So now what you're going to want to do in this case is, I'm going to go into my equivalent of what's called File Manager for me. And so for me, I have, let me come over here. I have, I know it's here somewhere. Oh, files. Okay. So in my files directory, and for you, it's Explorer or it's Finder for Mac. Right, in my downloads is where my print screens go. So you have to know where those print screens are put. And so for this case, this is the one I just did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it, because it's good to give things the right name. So week 1, and I always represent Learn Togethers with LT. And then I'm going to keep it PNG. And I think that's a good idea. Oh, and I already have one named that, right? So that's fine. I'll use this one, but you get the idea. So now what I want to do is I want to, and there's a couple ways you could do this, right? So, because now that I've run the code, I actually want to take that print screen and place it. Now I'm gonna have more directories than you do, so don't worry about that. But I'm gonna place it into this directory, or into this repo under a new directory I'm gonna create. So I'm gonna actually do this by first navigating out of my public Rio. In this case, I'm gonna go public, and then if I hit that directory and do a list, I see all those directories. I'm going to do and again, there's three ways you could do this. I could actually create this subdirectory here at the command line. I could do it in the interface in VS Code, or I could do it in my operating system. So you can do it however you want. In my other class, I showed how to do it in VS Code, but I think for you guys, I'm going to say mkdir, make dir, and then I'm going to call it print screens, okay? Because you're going to have print screens throughout the semester that you're going to get. So now you can see that show up. So now I could actually use the command line to also copy that image over, but I'm going to make it a little easier for myself. Now my directory structure is not going to be the same as yours, but in this case here I have this directory for this semester. There we go, right? There it is. It's in the private one. So what I would do here is I drop, in the public one, and then that is the directory right there under print screens, right? So I would leave that out there so that I could do this, which is, and it's a little, you have to, again, your operating system is different. Once I've opened up that directory, all I have to do is click and drag and drop that in, and then it copies it into there, okay? All right, so now when I come back over here, one thing you'll see is that VS Code actually gives you a green in your public, and that's because, and you see this again, getting used to the Git workflow, and I'm going to do a clear here. In this case, I can do a Git status. I can see that I have red, which means I have something new that's not tracked. So what I would want to do is move into that directory. Okay, and now if I do a git status, I actually will see that I'm in the directory. So all I do is git add, and I do star wildcard there. You could do git add the specific name of the file, but I just do wildcard in case I have multiple files. And so now git add, so now I do git commit, right? Week, let's do that right. 1 LT print screen. Okay, so that's your commit message, and then git push actually now pushes that out to my GitHub. Okay, all right, cool. So we've done the Git workflow. Notice how this is now updated, and that's clean. So now what I want to do is now go over here, and I'm going to actually move into GitHub, because I'm going to show you how to embed that image into your reply. Okay, so now I'm going to actually go into 94, which is right here. I'm going to go into, I'm not sure why, I think because I'm recording, my system seems to be lagging just a little bit here. All right, so I'm going to go into my public, and then I'm going to see that directory called print screens, and then I'm going to click on that one. And so what I'm going to do is, now that I have it open, I can right click inside the image and say copy image address. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can come back over here, and now, right, so I can just do print screen. You don't have to capitalize. I don't know why I did that second one. We could actually camel case it. That'd be good, but I didn't. Right, so we'll do another heading 3. Right, and so here, what you can do is, again, now we can use the editor to embed an image, paste that in, and what will happen is it will automatically populate the height, width and height. Cool, right? So that's what it looks like, right? Okay, so the last thing here before I just talk about why this video is here is that if you want to get full points, is definitely do 2 replies to your fellow students of minimum 75 words. And you can reply probably to what they have here. Most likely that makes sense, right, to do that part. Okay, so let me do this. Bring me back. There I am. Okay, so The other thing is I've actually provided to you, and I'm going to recommend, because this video this first one right here, and I've put this for reference from my CIT93 Learn Together, is that first part in their discussion. I'm going to just recommend, I'm not going to make it required, but I highly recommend you watch the first part where I talk about removing obstacles, because, taking an online course in a and I don't want to say very technical topic, but you all are taking Node.js, which is hoping that you've come in with some JS skill and taking it to the next level by learning how to write it on the server side. So many different things can come into being obstacles for you. So I'd like you to review that, and you're welcome to, in your reply, or to somebody else, talk about what you felt about that. It doesn't matter, but please take a look at that, because I think it might be helpful just to kind of get my perspective on making sure that you're overcoming whatever obstacles you have. Okay, so what I've also done is provided links for how to do print screens on Windows 10. And like I said, the second half of this video where I talk about sharing your output is almost identical to what I showed here. I did it for your specific directory, or our specific class folder, so you can see what that looks like. But in general, it's the same, but you might want to take a look at that, because there might be something I talked about there that I didn't talk about here. And it's not a huge amount of time. Okay. All right. So that's your first Learn Together. Glad you're here, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.